Did you leave the house today, perhaps? You were at work or shopping or playing sport or driving somewhere. If you did, it's likely that someone somewhere was watching you. For example, 2 small local authorities in the UK have, between them, more closed-circuit TV cameras than the entire San Franciscan Police Department. But while the government is currently engaged in a consultation process to determine whether every closed-circuit TV camera in the country needs to be registered, the police are now openly questioning whether the all-seeing eyes actually cut crime at all. Here's Michael Buchanan.
We're told we're the most watched nation on earth. A CCTV camera for every 14 residents, apparently, watching our every move. And you can't escape them, it seems, no matter where you go.
It's just 10 minutes behind schedule. Thanks for your patience and wish you a pleasant stay and pleasant afternoon in Shetland. Thank you.
The Shetland Islands are as rural and remote as it gets in Britain. There are far more birds than bodies here. But puffin watching is slowly being overtaken by people watching. There are more than 100 CCTV cameras operated by the local council. A major oil terminal explains many of them. But piers and ferries, schools, libraries and refuse dumps are also being constantly monitored. Now, in case you're wondering if Shetland is one of these places that's overrun by feral criminals, I looked into last year's annual police report. In the introduction, the area commander describes this place as one of the country's safest communities. The report goes on to talk about large decreases in serious and violent crimes, detection rates of between 70 and 93% for some crimes, described in the report as among the best results in the country. Still, the police and the local authority want to turn this town into one of the most watched in the whole of the UK. In Lerwick, the main town, we came across workmen installing 14 new cameras. Total cost, £200,000. 115 cameras for a population of little more than 20,000. The council leader says the new CCTVs are in response to police and public pressure.
Up from the main street where these cameras are a number of lanes where people actually live, and they have been concerned, you know, at sometimes the disturbances of the weekend. So there was some support for it, as well as people who think that it's intrusion in people's private lives.
But in the struggle between privacy and surveillance, Britain has firmly made its choice. Figures obtained by the BBC through Freedom of Information requests highlight our love of CCTVs. The Shetlands and Corby Council, another of Britain's smallest authorities, both have more cameras than the San Francisco Police Department, who look after almost 1 million people. 8 British cities have more CCTVs than the authorities in Paris. And incredibly, one London borough, Wandsworth, has as many cameras as Dublin City Council, the police departments of Johannesburg and Boston, and the City of Sydney Council combined. We headed to the mean streets of South London to see Wandsworth's astonishing 1,113 CCTV cameras. Wandsworth was one of the first boroughs in London to install CCTVs in a major way, and the numbers we have indicate they haven't really let up over the years. But Wandsworth is interesting in another respect as well. Several years ago, researchers counted all the CCTV cameras on these 2 streets, and from those figures concluded there were 4.2 million such cameras in operation across the country. But is that figure accurate? Possibly not, according to new research we've seen. Simon Harris produces an annual report on video surveillance. It's based on actual sales figures, and using those numbers, he's calculated a very different total.
We looked at how the market has been growing in recent years, mapped that right back to the 70s when the first systems were starting to be put in. We then factored in some replacement rates, that the cameras are being replaced every so many years. And working through the numbers that way, we arrived at an installed base of cameras which we believe is about 3.2 million for the UK.
So there may be 1 million fewer cameras than the widely quoted figure, but it would still leave us as the world's most watched nation.
He's last seen wearing a pale blue t-shirt and jeans. He does suffer from bipolar disorder.
The public now expects criminals to be caught on camera. After all, billions of pounds have been spent installing these systems. All these cameras watching all these people, but are they actually effective? Mick Neville is one of the country's foremost experts on how police use CCTV. A serving officer with the Metropolitan Police, he says the cameras can be effective if used properly.
What people want to hear is a simple thing, buy 7 of these DX9 cameras or whatever, whatever name they have, megapixel, that will solve everything. And what I say is no. There's 10 things to make CCTV work, from people to training to having the lawyers and the equipment in the police station. Unless you've got all those things, it just simply will not work. Just sticking cameras and watching them, or sticking cameras on a building, it's not going to happen. It's not solving the problem.
So the logical conclusion for what you were saying is that the vast majority of police forces in England and Wales, across the United Kingdom, are not catching as many criminals as they could using CCTV because they simply don't manage the system properly.
I agree with what you're saying. Unless there is a systematic way of gathering CCTV, a systematic identification process, then it will continue not to be as effective as it could be. And I would say we've got enough cameras. Let's stop now. Don't need more cameras. Let's invest that money that's available and use it for the training of people and the processes to make sure whatever we've captured is effectively used.
We assume that CCTV is foolproof, producing clear images of criminals caught in the act. All too often, however, the pictures and processes are far murkier. A Home Office report 4 years ago seriously questioned whether CCTVs actually help the police. Despite its findings, little has changed, says the report's author.
I've just done some work with a shoplifter who, when he was active, was stealing every day £600 a day to feed a £200 drug habit. And he stole every day for 2 years. And during that time, he was caught about 4 times a year, about once on camera. Now, this is from stores and in areas where there are plenty of cameras. So, and his point, and many other offenders have said the same thing in the past, I have been caught on camera, they've shown me an image, but the image isn't good enough, and I just say, prove it.
But these iconic cases have helped push the expansion of CCTVs. A bomber here, a killer there, all tracked down using our unparalleled surveillance system. Conclusive proof, say supporters, that the cameras are crucial.
What is the value to London to have suicide bombers who failed in their first attempt arrested and detained before they were allowed to act again? How do you put a value on that? But CCTV was instrumental in that as a form of investigative tool. I mean, and there are countless cases where CCTV has been critical in the investigation of very, very serious crime. But if you can tell me how I can put a value on that, then I can tell you whether or not CCTV is cost effective.
Over the past 2 decades, closed-circuit TVs have become ingrained in Britain's landscape. We no longer notice them, though they notice us. We don't know how many there are, nor are we any longer clear why we put them up. Those questions will soon demand hard answers, however, if a straitened public purse is going to continue to keep an all-seeing eye on us.